welcome to day 16 of the urban vlog, urban diary, urban life, the daily rabbit trail connection, whatever. I don't know, still don't have a name for this yet. It is still a mystery what I shall call it, but some great ideas, so keep them coming. Yeah, there's some good ones out there, so keep shooting them to me if you have other ideas for what to call this. I mean, one of these other ones might work, called Urban Life. Might work out pretty well. I am talking about today, there was some questions about American Idol that were asked last week that I never got around to answering, and a couple of them I thought that I should, since American Idol is coming back to ABC. Side note, Simon Cowell is not interested in being a part of it, which is not really a big surprise. I just thought it was interesting, since when he left American Idol, that's when it really started to take a hit with the ratings. So I'm curious to see what they do, since Simon is not interested in being a part of it. But that was neither of the questions that I was going to answer in this video. First question, well, sort of, yeah, it's kind of a question. It was about that picture that came out of me while I was on American Idol. And if you aren't familiar with that picture, well, I did a competition. It wasn't just, this was not the only part of it, was me walking out on stage in a swimming trunks and no shirt. That was part of it. It was a sort of a competition / convention where you get to meet and do some acting, some singing, some modeling stuff for different agents and groups and managers to see if anybody's interested in working with you. And I did that before I was on American Idol. Part of it was the swimsuit thing where you go out and, in case you want to do some modeling. Prior to that photo, I was working out an obscene amount. Like, I was working out 5 days a week for about 2 hours a day. And I was in best shape of my life, probably, and that picture was taken. And when I got on American Idol, I knew that picture was going to get out at some point. And so I was like, well, I guess we will just see what happens with it. I did not expect it to take on the life of its own that it sort of did. When people started creating Twitter accounts for my pecs and my abs and my arms, and it was, now saying it out loud, it sounds really weird, because it was pretty weird. So I didn't necessarily expect all of that happened after that picture came out. People sort of saw that, but I guess it didn't hurt. It's not like it was a super unflattering picture. It wasn't a picture of me snorting cocaine or something like that. So, it could have been something like that. Well, I guess it couldn't have, because I have never snorted cocaine. But, you know what I'm saying. It's not a bad picture. It's not a picture that I'm like, oh, I wish nobody had ever seen that. Since obviously I decided to do the swimsuit competition. So, yeah, that sort of answers the question, I guess. Hopefully. I don't think it hurt. Ellen thought it was a good picture. She put it all over the studio when I was on her show after I got voted off. So, second question. What was the best piece of advice I got from any of the judges, the coaches, the different people on American Idol? And, that's a really tough one. And here's why. I like to think that the people who were coming in to coach, the celebrity coaches, really cared. But that's not the impression that I really got. Except for, Miley Cyrus and Alicia Keys were kind of the two exceptions. But at the time, Miley Cyrus seemed so kind of nervous about the whole thing. And some of the contestants on the show were like, why is Miley Cyrus giving me any advice? And so that whole, coaching session was kind of interesting, because she seemed kind of uncomfortable, and some of the contestants really could not care less what she said. But it seemed like she actually cared. So that was nice. And then Alicia Keys, she seemed like she genuinely cared. but we didn't have very much time with any of these celebrity coaches. I mean, we really probably had maybe 10 minutes with them each. Like, it was very short. It was primarily just for television, the whole coaching thing. It's not like they were going to sit down with you for an hour and like work with you on stuff. That's not how it worked at all. So as far as the coaches, there wasn't a ton of advice that really stuck with me because we weren't there very long. It just wasn't, Oh, Adam Lambert. I'm sorry, Adam Lambert. He was one of those guys. And he obviously seemed like he cared more, having been through the situation. So, mixed bag. Either way, didn't have very long with any of them. None of the advice was like life-changing. As far as the judges, there was nothing specific that Simon said, or Randy, or Ellen, or Kara. I honestly can't remember almost anything that any of them said, but I will say this, that the criticism that I received from them, like every single week, is one of the things that pushed me to continue working to get better. It's one of the things that pushed me as a singer. It pushed me to say, you know what, we are going to get better at this, we're going to work harder, because at the time I knew that I had no business being on the show. Like, compared to what I believed I could be as a singer. When I got on the show, I realized very quickly, I was like, man, I am not where I can be. I am not the best or even close to the best version of myself as a singer. And so the continued sort of, I don't want to call it assault, but the continued string of negative comments that I got like almost every single week from the judges, it sort of reminded me, look, you have to keep working here, because you have to show them that this is not the best that you are. Like, you're in transit, you're still on your way towards even knowing what you're doing singing wise. So the criticism actually helped. As far as the other coaches, there were different things that some of the coaches said on the show that were helpful. Not the celebrities, like the actual like vocal coaches that worked there. They were really nice. They were really cool. There were some confidence things. They were really encouraging, and that was helpful. But the best actual advice, the best person that I worked with on the show was a vocal coach that I worked with for 1 hour before we went on tour. It was after the show was over. It was before we were getting ready for the concert series. I worked with this vocal coach for 1 hour, and it changed my voice. The technique that he taught, the way that he went about it, was absolutely phenomenal. It was something that I had never really even heard before. And I got comments on tour the whole time about how people come up to me and say, hey, your voice is so much better, like it's gotten so much stronger even since you were on the show. And it's because of that 1 hour long session, and then all the work that I put in. As soon as I was given that information, as soon as I was introduced to that, I just became obsessed with it and wanting to get better. So that's kind of very long-winded, but I wanted to try to give that a good solid answer to that question, and hopefully that does answer that question. If you have any other questions about American Idol, about my time on the show, or about really the experience of being on shows like that, leave me a comment, ask me a question, and I will try to answer it. And I will see you guys tomorrow on The Urban Connection.